everyone, and welcome to our new podcast, Discovering the Maverick Factor. I'm Yolanda Bevill, the Vice President for Marketing, Messaging, and Engagement, and I am here with a special guest today, President Cowley, Jennifer Cowley. She is the 10th president of UTA and the first female president of UTA. So for this Women's History Month, we want to talk to her about her leadership and style and what she brings to UTA, and all of the things that she has just done with a new strategic plan. So I'm excited to have her here today. Welcome, Dr. Cowley.
Thank you, Yolanda. It's a pleasure to be here and to get to share with the Maverick Factor.
Thank you so much. So we are going to dive right in. We have some questions. Again, we are talking about leadership today, and we want to kind of find out all of the things that make you a great leader, and what you think that other people could be doing to become great leaders. So I'm excited to ask you, why UTA? Why did you decide to join UTA at this time?
Well, UTA is just such a fabulous university. I grew up here in Arlington, and getting to watch the evolution of this university, its growth and its trajectory, it's just headed in the right direction. And so when the opportunity came up to join this Tier 1 research university that has such a comprehensive set of academic programs that are so successful and really dedicated to supporting this diverse student population, it was really attractive to me. And I felt like my skill set, my leadership, it was the right time, right place.
Wow. So now that you've been here, almost 2 years or a little over 2 years, what have you found that has been the most challenging part of being a leader at UTA?
The challenge is really the opportunity. There are countless great ideas and aspirations and dreams on this campus, and it's choosing between great idea and great idea. Which ones are the ones we're going to go for? And so that, I think, really is the challenge, because we have such a fantastic team that has so many great ideas for how we can be an even stronger university.
Wow, that says a lot about the faculty and staff and the students here at UTA, that you have to choose between great and great. That's wonderful, but probably a tough choice.
It can be a tough choice because nobody likes to say no to good ideas.
Wow. So what has surprised you the most about UTA? As a hometown girl, I'm sure you grew up looking at this campus, but coming and being a leader, what really has just jumped out at you as things that you would not have expected before you got here?
Well, there's only so much you can learn from a website and initially meeting people. It really takes getting into the campus community to get to know the flavor of the campus and what is it that we're going to do together. And one of the things that has been so pleasantly surprising is the motivation and willingness to change and to say, we want to do better for our students. We want to change as our economy and society is changing. We want to be responsive to the needs of our region and beyond. And so that willingness to just have a can-do attitude, let's figure it out, let's make the changes we need to make, is just so refreshing to see how responsive our campus community is.
Wow, that is excellent. So thank you again for being here today. But this podcast is called Discovering the Maverick Factor. And it's called that for a reason, because we put out a campaign that talks about this Maverick Factor, this it factor that we think our students possess, that we think our faculty possesses. So what do you think really defines the Maverick Factor about our faculty, our staff, our students?
Well, first of all, I agree they have the it factor, that Maverick factor. And I can see it when I go meet with our students. I just think about, for example, Daniela, our student body president. It's her aspiration for making our campus better, wanting to dedicate her leadership, leave a lasting impact. And it's that drive that I just see reflected in her and so many of our Mavericks across campus. It's that desire to make an impact.
I love that, because the students that I meet also want to make an impact. I come across them and they come from some really interesting circumstances and backgrounds, but the real thread is the idea that they want to be here, that they want to make a difference when they leave here as a graduate of UTA. And I've also met some alums who feel the same way, like, wow, when I was there, it was tough, but I've made it. Now I have my own business, or I'm a CEO and in the C-suite. And so I think that we do some really great things here at UTA. So now we're going to get into some leadership questions, just some general leadership questions. So what do you think are the most important decisions that a person can make as a leader?
Every day I'm challenged to make different decisions. And I think one of the important things to think about, it's not about you as the leader making that decision. You may be the ultimate person who's accountable for that decision, but it's how do you surround yourself with a team that's going to challenge you, be your thought partner, and really help guide you in making the best decisions you can make in any given circumstance. There is no way for one individual leader to be an expert in absolutely everything. You think about a university as complex as our university, more than 40,000 students, more than 180 different academic disciplines. There's no way I can know everything there is to know about everything we do on campus.
No?
I
Are
know
you
it's
sure?
shocking. I mean, I sure try to know everything about everything, but there are indeed areas that I can't know everything about. And so it's just having a responsive and flexible leadership team and being willing to keep an open mind and be flexible in that decision making.
Wow. What are the toughest decisions that you have to make? When you say you have to choose between great and great, like how do you even go about that process of making the decision?
Well, there are resource constraints. We don't have all of the time in the world. We don't have all of the money in the world to do everything we might want to do. And so it's trying to think about what is the end goal that we're trying to achieve, and that's part of our UTA 2030 strategic plan, is setting those goals and then starting with how is the actions that we're going to take, big or small, going to impact that long-term goal that we're trying to move the needle on. And so that's the starting point, is connect to our strategic plan first and then think about what are the implications of those decisions.
Wow, it must be tough to be a president.
It is not an easy job, but I get all the best parts and all the worst parts. So I get to celebrate our students when they cross the stage. I get to go to the ribbon cuttings, and I get to engage with fascinating alumni who are making just an amazing impact on the world. And then I make those tough decisions that are not the funnest ones to make.
So I have a really interesting question for you. An organization gets larger, and sometimes it could lead to the institution being bureaucratic and institution-like, and it loses some of that inspiration that people come for because they get boggled down and siloed and all of those things. How do you think that UTA or any organization as large and complex as you mentioned will be able to keep employees inspired and be able to keep that inspirational feeling for its employees?
Well, I'd say there's two parts to that. One, yes, we have to have processes, we have to have procedures. Those are important in any type of organization of any scale, and certainly important that our students need to know how to add and drop classes, that you know how to get paid through payroll. All those sorts of things are necessary. But we can get mired in the muck. And so I have really challenged some of our units that are responsible for administrative processes to say, where can we simplify? Where can we reduce the amount of time it takes for students to navigate a process, for an employee to navigate? What can we do to make it easier? How many decision makers need to sign off on this? Do we understand why? Those sorts of things. So can we simplify where it makes sense to reduce that bureaucratic burden that I think we all experience? The DMV, Department of Motor Vehicles, often gets a bad rap. Okay, but they've done a great job of modernizing some of their processes too. And so how do we make sure we're not the DMV of higher education, but instead that aspirational and inspirational place that people feel like they're really at home at? And then that motivation of our faculty and staff, I think it reflects on us as leaders to always be remembering what we're trying to achieve, trying to be positive and optimistic in our focus, even in those times that are challenging or that we're dealing with a messy problem, to try to keep that optimism and show and reflect that to our faculty, staff, and students so that they can stay motivated and inspired about why we're focused on our mission.
Great. Sometimes that gets tough when you're day to day and in that muck that you talk about. But I think it's overcome when you see our students and you look out the window and you see them walking and know that they are walking with purpose and trying to reach their own goals. So I love that.
Yes.
So how do you encourage creativity and how do you encourage people to stay fresh with their ideas? even in the midst of the muck, and even in the midst of some of the things that you have to say yes or no to.
Well, I'd say all of us internally can focus on our professional development. Where are the areas we're going to professionally grow in and bring intention around that? Even as the president, I have professional development goals that I want to set, things that I want to work on and improve on, continue to grow so I don't get stagnant in, any role on campus. So I think that's one piece of it. But then I also think it takes a lot of intention around saying, what am I going to do every day so that I'm creating the space and time for that strategic and creative thinking? Because sometimes, answering those emails or phone calls or whatever it is, we can wind up spending too much time on the day to day, which is important. So it takes intention to create that space so that we do create that time for creativity.
That's wonderful. Interestingly enough, since I am a direct report of the president, I will say that she is absolutely intentional in making sure that the people on her staff grow professionally. And that's very exciting. And that's something that all leaders do. And so, how did you come to that space where you think that this is something that is important as a leader?
Well, I'm a planner and have a background in city planning, but there is just a kind of way of thinking that many planners have, and it's about where are we going to be 20 years from now? And what are all the things we have to do to scaffold to get there? And so for me, it's like, okay, well, what am I going to be doing in a year, or 5 years, or 10 years? And then if I want to be successful in that 10-year period, then what do I need to do to help make sure I'm on that trajectory? And I want to see that in all of our team members to be able to be focused on that future. And even if that future is, I want to be in my same job 10 years from now, well, how can I grow in my existing role? How can I grow as a student, a faculty member, a staff member, and continue to be fulfilled and feel like I'm creating an impact? And there's always ways to learn new things.
Wow. So, when do you have time to learn new things? I can't imagine you're always on the go and talking to people and shaking hands and making tough decisions.
Well, yes, this role is a time intensive role. I will give you that. But time management is critical for all of us, regardless of what we're doing. And it's saying, what are our true priorities? I'll tell you, my number one priority is sleep. That is at the top of my list because I know if I am not rested, then I'm not going to have that space to be my best version of myself. I might be cranky with you, Yolanda, if I haven't had enough sleep,
You've
right?
never been cranky with me. I want to put that out there. So
It's
you must be
because
getting
sleep,
enough sleep.
yes, because
Okay.
sleep is at the top of the list. But it's setting those priorities and saying, I am going to make sure that I carve out space for that professional growth, for sleep, for that creative time, for making sure I'm catching up on phone calls and emails. And some weeks it's a lot harder than others. But it's just being intentional and then being reflective and saying, how did that week go? Did it go the way I thought it was going to go? Did I have enough space, time for those things that are priorities?
Wow. Okay. So, what do you think is the biggest challenge facing higher education leaders today?
I would say it's a challenge that is very similar for organizations across the nation. That we have seen a growing divisiveness across the country. And it's not just specific to higher ed. It's all over the place that there's kind of a black and a white or whatever color you want to choose, yellow and green, and you're on one side or the other. And I think what it does is it simplifies problems. And so it's like, I'm right, you're wrong. And most of the issues that we're dealing with are highly complex. It is not that education is a good or a bad thing. Education, of course, is a good thing, regardless of whether you want to be a plumber, you want to work in waste management, whatever it is you want to do
Absolutely.
with your life, that is a valuable thing. And we want to see people have the education and training they need to be successful in whatever that career path is. And higher education creates a tremendous impact on people who choose to partake. And so I see the challenge for higher ed is how do we make sure that people understand beyond one sentence or beyond one headline, the impact that we create and the value that we have. And to be able to create a willingness with those that we engage with to have that deeper conversation, for us and our colleagues to be open to how we hear the criticisms about the work that we do, and we're responsive to those and engaging in that deeper dialogue around how we create impact on people.
Wow. So if you're trying to navigate the politics, you're trying to navigate the tough decisions, you're trying to navigate just being a leader in a space that can sometimes be difficult, what trait do you think that a leader would need to have? Or a new leader, an emerging leader, or an aspirational leader would need to have to be successful in a job like yours?
I think that early on in my career, I was far more sensitive to what any individual might say. So, Yolanda, if you said, I don't agree with, whatever the thing is, I might have taken that personally. And what I have learned as a leader is so much of the interaction I have is not about me personally as Jennifer. It's about my role, it's about the projects we're working on. And so learning to be more resilient and not be reactive to those things that people are saying and be able to kind of separate myself as an individual from the actions and attitudes and the impact that's being created. And it's made it much easier, particularly in times of crisis or conflict, to be able to go home and get that rest I need, or to be able to separate my personal emotions and reactions to a particular circumstance with the work that we need to do and how I need to collaborate with team members to take the actions that need to be taken.
Wow. So how long did it take? I keep saying wow because you are giving these excellent answers and engaging answers. So I love it. How did you get there? Like, did you have a mentor? Did you have somebody who
Oh
worked
my
with you to
gosh.
get there?
It's been a long journey and so many mistakes along the way that as long as you're reflective and say, "Ooh, I could have done a better job in that situation." But it is growth through experience. And so you have these experiences along the way where you're like, wow, okay, the way I understood that situation today is different than I did in that moment. How can I do a better job the next time? And so I've had coaches and mentors along the way. And, I think of one individual that was particularly impactful, a gentleman named Dave Williams. And he was just at this perfect career point where he wanted to focus on mentorship and developing that next generation of leaders. And so he was able to give me a tremendous amount of autonomy and then be there to check in and say, okay, why did you think about doing it that way? And did you think about this? And really helped me just grow tremendously in a relatively short period of time. And one of the things that he really pushed me to think about was that you're not going to like every role. You're not going to want to do every role, but you need to think about that bigger picture, longer term. What can I learn and grow it from in this role that will help me be prepared for the thing I really want to do?
Okay. So in thinking about your own mentor, and we're going to make you a mentor right now.
Okay.
What advice do you give to those leaders that want to be you, that see themselves in you, that are in college right now and thinking, oh my gosh, that's the role that I want? Is it
Well,
self-reflection?
I'm not sure that being a university president is what everybody should aspire to be. But what I love is, regardless of whether you want to be a nurse practitioner, a communicator, university president, or whatever, the starting point for me is really understanding what is that job about? Because it can be easy. I see so many students that come in and want to be social media influencers, sports managers, you name the thing that is popular. I want to be a teacher, a doctor, or whatever, but with very little understanding of what does it actually mean to do that job. So I really encourage people to reach out, do job shadowing, understand what it is that that job is about, and then what are the skills and attributes that are needed to be successful in that role. And then saying, okay, I want to be that nurse practitioner, I want to be that architect, I want to be a university president, and then put themselves on a path that they can be successful in reaching those career goals.
So how do you get that across to people? When you go out and you talk to our students, what do you tell them? How do you inspire them?
Well, first of all, I love meeting with our students and learning about what it is that they want to do. And they have the most wonderful aspirations. I just love it. And I just get lit up about the kind of work that our students want to do when they graduate. And so I'll often follow that up after they tell me they want to, be whatever the thing
Yes.
is.
Hmm.
And then I'll say, well, what experiences are you getting now? What are you hoping to do next? And then if I can offer them some advice, have you connected with the Career Center? Have you thought about this program at X University or
Hmm.
whatever the case might be, and see what I can do to mentor just in small ways and offer a little encouragement along the way.
Okay, so we are going to switch gears a little bit because I want to hear about the strategic plan.
Okay.
I want to know all about it. I want to understand how you arrived at the places that you arrived, what you're expecting from faculty and staff. How do you think that our strategic plan is going to move the university forward?
Well, so I mentioned earlier in my response to one of my questions, it's like having the end in mind when you start. And so when I arrived at UTA, I really felt we as a university had worked very, very hard at achieving and becoming a tier one research university, and that all the focus had been on that one thing. And I don't want to say the university was only focused on that, but it was a point in time of just achievement and a feeling of accomplishment. And what I heard from people is, okay, but what are we doing next? And I felt like one of the best ways to harvest that what's next would be to focus on what are our dreams and aspirations. And so we ask people, what are your dreams? Let's not focus on the, like, I want to change this process, but like big picture, what are the things we really want to accomplish? And so I feel like UTA 2030 Shared Dreams, Bright Future was really focused on those bright stars in the sky that we wanted to reach towards. And so I think that differentiates our strategic plan from perhaps others that are out there. And I feel like our teams worked really hard to say, what are those thematic areas that we can bring focus around these dreams? And so, you served as a theme leader in helping us think about what we want to do around alumni and community engagement. So you brought your lens as a communications and marketing leader, but also collaborated with others on campus to say, how would we be an engaged university? What would change about us that would allow us to be seen by the community as highly engaged and impacting the communities around us? And I think that was just a wonderful process and exercise and led to some really creative ideas and initiatives that we're now getting into the process of pursuing.
Absolutely.
Yes.
We are excited over in marketing and messaging engagement to collaborate across campus. It gives us an opportunity, in my opinion, to really talk to people that we wouldn't normally talk to learn about things we wouldn't normally learn about in order to promote this wonderful
Well,
university.
I'll say we had our leadership team strategic launch a little while ago. And one of the things that I really enjoyed about what you did, Yolanda, along with Marie, is the storytelling exercise, because that messaging, we have to teach ourselves how to tell our stories better. And every unit on campus has amazing stories. And so, how do we get people to know what those stories are and then to be able to tell them to each other? And so, just being able to go out and every time I interact, I want to be able to relate to people and to tell them something about UTA that is really consistent with their interests. And so, I felt like the work that you and your team are doing in helping cultivate all of us into storytellers is important work for us ahead.
Well, that's great. Thank you. And I've got some of my team members here, so they hear all of these things and they know that they're going to be a part of something big for the university. And so we're all excited about that. But before I leave, I'm also excited about the culture and that Jewel Washington is doing the cultural organizational pieces because I think that that is important. I'm sure you do too, as a leader, to have a good culture where people can incubate these great ideas and try and bring them to life.
Yeah, we all wanted to be at a place where we feel like we're valued, whether you're a student, a faculty member, or a staff. And how do we make sure that really resonates throughout the university? This sense of belonging, that I belong here, that I am proud to be a Maverick, and that I feel like I get to do my best work every day. And that's the culture that we're trying to foster.
Absolutely. I'm excited about that. And I know that our faculty and our staff are excited about that particular work. So, is there anything else that you want to talk about for your strategic strategic plan? When are you going to unveil it to the world? Let's unleash it.
Well, we are unleashing it to the world in March. We're planning a big kickoff event at Brazos Park where we're going to be able to engage with our students, faculty, and staff. And then we are building out toolkits to help spread this across our campus and launching new initiatives almost every day. And so we're really excited about getting this out into our broader Maverick community, sharing the message, letting everybody know where we're headed.
Great. Is it a 1 or 2 year plan? How long do we have to work on this?
Well, it's called 2030. So we're
2030.
going to spend the next 6 years working together because you know what? Rome wasn't built in a day and UTA wasn't either. And so we're going to be focused on all those actions, big and small, we're going to take between now and 2030 to realize our dreams.
So this is very exciting work, and I'm looking forward to working with you and our team on it. And as far as the campus is concerned, constantly talking about it to the campus. So very much. So tell me this thing. What is the most important part of a university or any organization? Mission, values, or vision, in your opinion?
That's a hard question. I'll say mission comes first, right? We have a mission to educate Texans for the benefit of Texas. And, you know, there's more words on our mission statement and things like that, but when you boil it down, that's what it's about. And so I think as a state institution, it's critical we always have that focus first and foremost in our mind. And then our vision, and it really shapes how we reach towards achieving that mission, in my view.
And so do you think that the strategic plan fits into all of those things?
Oh, absolutely. It's a way to center that, right? Our mission is always our mission. But then how do we focus on those things we're going to do over the next 6 years to make sure that we are achieving a broader vision to achieve our mission?
So we have a mission-driven strategic plan.
Absolutely.
So that means everybody should be engaged.
Absolutely.
Because this is what we do here at UTA.
Yes.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Now we are winding down. This is our 8 rapid question wind down.
Okay.
So you got to be ready for this one. So just say the first thing that comes to your mind. Don't overthink, and let's let it rip.
Okay.
So what have you changed your mind about recently?
I changed my mind about what I was going to get my husband for Valentine's Day.
Oh, wow. You had multiple gifts. Most people I talked to said they couldn't figure out what they were going to get their guy. All the guys understood what to get the women. Roses, cards, but
Well,
guy gifts are tough, huh?
they can be, but what I realized is the gifts I was thinking about involved work on his part, and that a Valentine's gift should be about celebration and relaxation, not effort.
Absolutely. I can't wait to see him so I can ask him how did the gift go over. Okay. What would you suggest to your 20-year-old self?
Oh, I was in such a rush to grow up and to be an adult and have a career and all those sorts of things. And I think about my undergraduate experience, and I would just say, slow down, take it in. I would have loved to have done a study abroad, for example, and just treasure that time when you're 20.
Absolutely. So how do you define success?
I would overthink this one. So I'm just going to simplify it. I try to think about success on a daily basis. What did I achieve today that is going to help support longer term success?
Oh, that was good. You didn't overthink that one? That was great.
Okay.
Can I steal it?
You can steal it.
Okay, thank you. Okay, what's the best advice you've ever had?
Maybe I'm going to overthink that one.
We'll come back to it.
Okay.
I'll come back to it. Okay. What's your favorite season of the year and why?
Oh, my favorite season is that shift between winter and spring where the air is still crisp when you get up in the morning, but the sun just warms your skin and it's perfect weather to go walk and you can see green starting to come on the trees. It just makes me feel like fresh and like we're starting something new.
Doesn't last that long in Texas, though, does it?
No,
From 40 to 100.
it kind of feels like it today. Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay. Are you an early bird or a night owl?
Oh, absolutely early bird. There's nothing I like better than waking up refreshed in the morning, mind filled with ideas and things I want to do, and then just diving right in.
That's true. I've gotten emails from the president very early in the morning. Good thing I'm an early bird too. So,
Yes.
not a night owl though. I just can't do
No,
it.
no, me neither.
Okay, so I know the answer to this one. Coffee or tea?
Neither. Dr. Pepper.
Is your favorite Dr. Pepper? Is it Diet Dr. Pepper or just
No.
a regular Dr.
No, if you're going to go Dr. Pepper, you might as well go all in.
Pepper? I like it. So, what is the best advice you've ever received?
The best advice I've ever received is not to question yourself too much, to trust your thinking, and to just be willing to put yourself out there. If you make a mistake, you make a mistake, but you're never going to move forward if you don't try.
I love that. Well, that is it. We have finished our first episode of Discovering the Maverick Factor.
Well, I am so honored to be the first guest on the Discovering the Maverick Factor, and look forward to all the future episodes to come.
Thank you so much. So again, I'm Yolanda Bevill. I'm the Vice President for Marketing, Messaging, and Engagement, and we are here with Jennifer Cowley, our President, and we thank her for being here today, and we hope to see you on the next episode of Discovering the Maverick Factor. We have a special treat for you with the next episode.